Good evening, welcome to the Sulk stream. I'm your host, the incredible Sulk, and I hope you guys are having a good day. A fantastic day, a great day, a midday. I don't care. Hold on. I thought I had to sneeze. It turned out It turned out that I didn't have to sneeze. Awful way to start. That's an awful way to start. If you have to sneeze and then you do not sneeze, then it's just like, man, I really wish I had that sneeze earlier. It would have fixed the show. It would have been a lucky sneeze, and I screwed it up. Guys. I should have sneezed before the show. A tactical sneeze, as they call it. But I can't go back. I can't go back and redo the sneeze. I wish I could. I wish I could go back and fix my mistakes. I wish I could go back and undo the wrong that has been done. And get that little bit of titillation that I would have gotten from that sneeze. But no, it is over. The moment has passed. And here we are, traveling down the river of the future with no chance of returning. Or do we? Or do we have a chance? And this is our subject for this evening. How about that segue? It was a long roundabout segue, but I did it. I pulled it off. We're talking about time travel. We're doing a time travel documentary tonight. And it's interesting. And it's not going to be as upbeat and cheery as usual Sulk stuff. So, if that's what you're coming for, just leave. Just leave. Right? If you want to be happy and laugh and entertained and stuff like that, you came to the wrong place, man. This is about being sad. That's what this show is about. It's about being sad, lamenting the mistakes of the past, wishing you could go back and fix them. But you can't. You just can't. There's all types of paradoxes. There's all types of problems that arise. Look, if I could send you guys back one at a time, each one of you, to do my bidding in various eras, I would do that in a second. I really would. I would do that in a second, and then we'd be Time Lords. Well, I would be the Time Lord. You'd be my Time Pawns. Time Pawns, a good title, though, right? Thanks for coming, guys. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Christmas is coming up, and so is my birthday. Yeah. We're doing time travel tonight. And it's going to be a little slower. That's fine. I guess we just might as well get into it, because we shouldn't be wasting time. It's all we have. It is the essence of our being, isn't it? That's all we have. It's just a little bit of time. And we sell it every day to dickheads that don't even need it. We need our time more than anybody else, but we sell it away. That's pretty lame. That's pretty lame, guys. For what? Just so you can eat? Screw eating. You've had enough. You have. You need to eat more time. That's what you need to do. You need to kill your own time. Anyways, get ready. Get comfy. Get cozy. Do those things that you need to do before we go, because, like I said, we cannot go back, right? This is a one-way trip, and it is going forward. We're not going to start over. If somebody comes in halfway through and says, can you start over? I don't have that power, all right? I am not Kronos or whatever god of time that you think I am. I really don't know why you people came here to look at me for guidance. I don't understand it, not even a little bit. But I'm not here to question it. If that's what you wanted to do, if that's your prerogative, then I'll let you do that. Okay? So get comfy, get cozy, open a bottle of wine, get a nice 8-year-old scotch, maybe a single malt whiskey, maybe a delicious King Cobra, and then lie in whatever gutter that you find most suitable, right? And then prop your phone up against the box or the newspaper that you might have, and just try to keep warm tonight. That's what you got to do. I know you have internet, and I know you have a phone and stuff like that, but I've seen a lot of homeless people with phones. So that's just what you got to do. Anyways, guys, if you're working, keep working. If you're driving, drive safely. As always, drive safely. It's very important. I'm the Incredible Sulk. This is the Sulk stream. And this is called Is Time Travel Possible? Enjoy.
It's a cold, moonless night with a mist that hangs heavy in the air. As you turn to cross the road, fog swallows both the sound and headlights.
Ardenshire is first, guys. Everyone give it up for Ardenshire. It's Ardenshire. Ardenshire is first.
Lights of the oncoming car.
Obedient,
you see
background
it too
noise.
late.
What's up, guys?
Brace yourself for impact. Then, out of nowhere, an elderly stranger shoves you out of harm's way, is hit by the car, and ends up in a heap on the tarmac. Their life ends as yours is saved. Later, a police officer hands you an envelope found in the pocket of the deceased.
Obedient says, I'm sick as fuck, but also high, but also relaxing, so it's a gray area for me tonight. You actually, this is the perfect night for you, because it's not going to be too high energy. Yeah, I think the vibe, you're setting the tone for the vibe, Obedient.
It is addressed
this is what we're gonna
to
do.
you. You open this envelope and find a note with 2 words scribbled on it. It simply reads, Study Physics.
It says boner pills or something like that, right? Some guy pushes you out of the way, and then the note's addressed to you, and it says boner pills, and you're like, what is that supposed to mean? Boner pills, what?
Whoever wrote this note saved your life at the expense of theirs, so it only seems fair you follow their advice. Decades later, you become a much celebrated physics professor. Your specialist subject, Albert Einstein's theories of relativity. You've always had a hunch that time travel is possible, and one day, finally, you crack it, and the world's very first time machine is sat, buzzing before you.
Sweet. Ardenshire says, time is an illusion, therefore this documentary is already wrong, not a good start. Yes. Yep. That's it. Yes, that's it. Time is illusion. Everything happens at once, and we're all just kind of like experiencing it as if, you know, we're going through it, but it's really not. It's just, maybe this is how our minds interpret the 4th dimension, and time is actually just another spatial dimension that things can pass through. But since we're only 3-dimensional, we experience the 4th dimension as something we go forward through. I don't know. I'm not a physicist. Just a stoner.
Only then does the penny drop. How had you never realized before? You now have the power to go...
JD says, I'm more of a biology guy. And I'm sure that's a sex joke. But I don't get it.
Anywhere and any when, but you know exactly what you have to do.
Way to go.
You take the letter you've kept all these years out of its frame on the wall, place it back inside its original envelope, and put the envelope in your pocket. Stepping into your time machine, you set the controls to take you back to a cold, moonless, misty night, arriving just in time to push your younger self out of the path of the onrushing car. You die on the roadside.
Sweet.
It seems simple enough.
Screw that. I'm not going back to save my younger self. No, if I'm going back, I'm going to go live in like the 60s or something wherein it doesn't suck. When it doesn't suck in general. The 60s to the 90s were pretty sweet, and I will live in that time period, and then that's it. I don't know, maybe I'll get AIDS. Hopefully not. I'm not gay, so it won't be very easy, but I'll figure it out. Straight people got AIDS too.
But the real joy of time travel stories like this one comes once you begin to scratch beneath the surface, and some incredibly profound questions begin to emerge. First of all, who wrote the letter? The older version of you simply takes the letter they'd already been given as a teenager back in time. The letter is a seemingly creatorless entity stuck in a time loop. This is the bootstrap paradox.
Letter made itself.
Secondly,
Easy.
do these time loops keep on repeating? You save your teenage self, so they grow up to travel back in time to save their teenage self, who grows up to travel back in time, and so on. You are stuck in a relentless cycle of living and dying. But the letter...
Arden Share says, this seems like a really good bit, a very retarded crackhead. A very retarded crackhead. So not just like a normal, like, crackhead, but like a retarded crackhead. How are you making all that money for crack? You can't be that retarded if you're making money. You're making crack money? I know crack's not that expensive, but you gotta figure out a way. And yeah, I understand what you're saying. There's women that are crackheads and they're all retarded. That's fair, but women can prostitute themselves, so it really doesn't take brains. But if you're a male, you need to do something tricky. But like a retarded, just in complete hypotheticals, there's a retarded crackhead, a very deeply retarded crackhead. I'll read the rest of your comment now. Fucking stupid, except when he takes is that a shot of crack? Whatever. Then he has a tremendous bit of insight into the nature of reality, but it only lasts 30 seconds. Yeah. I think he thinks that happens. And I've known people, Jess's uncle, for instance, that thinks he's very philosophically deep when he is 3 sheets to the wind. He gets blackout drunk. And like blackout drunk, like imagine, okay, there's people who get blackout drunk in like college, right? Or like, 30-year-olds, even 40-year-olds, they get blackout drunk. But if you've been drinking heavily for 60 plus years, you get a type of blackout drunk that would astonish people. And this is that kind of person, right? He's all belly. He's like, it's like Gumby swallowed a basketball. That's what he looks like. He's all belly. And he gets very deep and philosophical when he's drunk, but he just mumbles and says nonsense, and everyone just tries to avoid the conversation. And that's just how he does it. So for the crackhead, he probably thinks he gets very deep insights, but it's just retarded crackhead stuff. But that might be interesting too.
Isn't. Does it just keep getting older and more worn and tattered? This...
Gash Tripping says he can't even form a sentence. He cannot. He came for Christmas dinner, I think it was last year, and he got blackout drunk and didn't even make it to dinner. And it's just like, damn.
It's the restoration paradox. And whose idea was it to study physics anyway? The notion seems to appear out of nowhere, a thought with no origin.
It's not embarrassing for me, honey. It's embarrassing for you, but I laugh.
Is the ex nihilo...
He's not my brother. He's your mom's brother.
Paradox.
So,
And if events like this can actually happen, then it also appears you have no free will, no choices in life. You were always going to invent the time machine and had absolutely no option to do otherwise. It had to happen, had always happened. If you don't invent a time machine, then you can't save your teenage self, and you yourself would therefore die as a teenager. There is something in your future that's firmly fixed. This is the predestination paradox. And finally, what if you change your mind? Unfortunately, for your older self, this is not an option. You can't get cold feet when you arrive and let the younger you get hit by the car. How could you be there to have second thoughts in the first place? This is the auto-infanticide paradox. It is impossible.
Or maybe it's like you want to change your mind, but then something freak happens and you end up saving him anyway, and then you die. It's not going to the universe isn't going to let itself collapse because you had a change of heart, right? So there's something going on. I mean, nobody time travels yet. But maybe we will. Maybe we will one day. There's all types of new shit coming out, and I don't know. It's mostly scary. Most of the technology I hear about these days, like Google's new Willow chip, that scares the shit out of me. Because who knows what's going to happen? It's saying it's going into like parallel realities to figure out problems and stuff. So those are like real now, and we're like using them to gather useful information from. Is that what you're saying? We're actually using parallel realities now to do Math problems for us? Oh, all right. All right. There's no way that's going to go wrong. There's no way we're going to summon demons from a parallel dimension just because somebody wanted to, like, watch porn on a quantum computer, which I'm sure is mind blowing, right? I'm sure, but not worth it. Not worth it summoning Cthulhu so you can watch, I don't know, interracial fart porn.
To kill a younger version of you.
Maybe it is for you, I don't know.
Of not doing something.
Hey, Forrest Mommy.
And so, not quite such a simple story. Welcome to the weird and wonderful world of time travel. But of course, traveling freely through time is impossible, you might say. You can't simply visit yesterday or rush headlong through millennia. And yet, this too is not quite so straightforward. Despite its myriad impracticalities, there are slivers of possibility lurking at the edge of physics, temporal loopholes lying just out of reach. And so, the question arises, if time travel were to be possible, just how could we do it?
Crack. Some sort of drug for sure, right? How do we not know that, like, LSD or GHB or DMT or something like that sends you back in time or to another dimension? I don't know. Like, you could just do it through astral travel. I don't know. But they want to get your whole body back there. So that's got to be a different situation.
In 2021, a researcher at Portsmouth University calculated that there are about 6 times 10 to the power of 80 bits of information in the observable universe. That's a 6 followed by 80 zeros.
Background noise decided to be a smartass and said, "Am I not traveling through time right now?" Yeah, you are, but you're not like choosing to, right? You're just going with it. You're not like able to speed time up or slow it down. Well, maybe with drugs again, but you are still just a passenger, right? Imagine if you could just choose to like fast forward a little bit, like that terrible Adam Sandler movie Click. Everyone forgot that one pretty quickly. It was awful. It was terrible. But yeah, you are traveling through time, I guess, at 1 second per second. That's amazing.
Information is incredibly valuable, and data brokers are collecting yours all the time. And that is where incognito. The sun beats down as the distinctive whooping barks of howler monkeys echo around the humid swamps. The current in the muddy, winding river is so strong that you don't even have to paddle your canoe. You just sit back and take in the sights and sounds as you're carried along. Jack Finney, arguably one of the finest proponents of time travel fiction, compared our experience of time to a river like this one.
Couch Traffic says, "Don't get drunk Uncle philosophical on his background." No, do that. Do that. I want background noise. Can you take like 11 shots of whiskey right before Christmas dinner? Because, we really want to hear what you have to say, or black out before you can even sit down. It's going to need at least that much. At least 3/4 of a bottle of wild turkey.
Seems like we're relentlessly ferried downstream
quickly
from the past
too. Don't
to the
nurse
future.
it.
We have no need to propel ourselves, but slowing down, speeding up, or turning around and heading back upstream doesn't seem possible either. But what happens to the parts of the river that we've left behind? Or in other words, where does yesterday go? It certainly seems as if it just disappears. Yet making the same argument about an actual river would seem ludicrous. You're unlikely to accept that the riverbed is torn up and mysteriously vanishes just because...
JD Grab says, "I wish I could go back in time and buy 4 custard tarts instead of 2. And let's see if I can pull up what he's talking about. Yes, I can right here. Yep. I had that queued up. He has 2 custard tarts. So if you went back in time, it would collapse the universe. So please don't do that. They look delicious, but that's all you're getting. I'm sure that's extremely disappointing, and I feel for you. But you made a mistake, all right? You can't get 2 more custard tarts. It would collapse the universe.
Because you've disappeared around the next bend. The
Don't
upstream
fuck
parts
up,
of the
JD.
river are still there.
Get enough custard tarts, all right? Just get and be like, I need this many custard tarts, and then double that, and then you should be all right.
Even if you aren't. In the
I can't
same
believe
way,
I
it
have to
seems as if
explain this to you.
tomorrow isn't real until it is. That somehow it magically appears once the curtain falls on today. But that would be like new water springing up to make the river of time longer only once you approach. Where would it come from? And so, over the years, scientists have revealed that time really is like that river, with its length already laid out in its entirety, from its source high in the foothills of the Big Bang to its estuary at the universe's eventual demise. The past...
I want the demise of the universe. It's a long time from now. Forrest Mommy says, bro, custard tarts sound good as hell right now. What is a custard tart? I know what custard is. I have a loose understanding of what a tart is, but that's only of the pop variety. So, what are these little pies you have?
Present and future existing alongside one another. Your great-great-great-grandchildren every bit as real as you are now. Your great-great-great-grandparents still alive and well, frolicking in the swells upstream in the vast river of time. Philosophers know this idea as eternalism. It's the opposite of presentism, which argues that only now exists and that the past is gone and the future yet to emerge. Debates between eternalist and presentist philosophers have raged since the days of ancient Greece. Indeed, the 4th century philosopher St. Augustine compared the present to a knife's edge, straddling the perceived past and an imagined future. But to a physicist, eternalism is known as the block universe theory and is based on Albert Einstein's much-lauded general relativity, one of the most successful theories in the history of science.
How long is the present? Is it like how many minutes is the present? Or is it just instantaneous where it doesn't even exist, right? It's just the past and then you're constantly moving into the future. Do we have like a set, like what is a moment? Is it what is that? I have no idea. I don't know. 5 seconds?
In 1905, Einstein publishes the special theory of relativity.
He stole that.
It does away with Isaac Newton's notion of absolute time. There is no universal clock that everyone can use to agree on when something happens. Instead, as the name suggests, time is relative. Depending on how they move through space, one observer could see event A happen before event B, while another sees event B occur before event A. Both observers are equally correct. An event in your past could be in someone else's future. This is yet another reason why all our yesterdays cannot simply vanish. How can they, when the events they contain might form part of somebody else's tomorrows? As well as this.
Okay. That's a good question, all right? So if something I saw happened, but somebody much further away hasn't seen it yet, well, it's still there, right?
This special relativity cemented the fact that space and time are not completely distinct from one another. In 1908, Hermann Minkowski develops Einstein's...
JD Grab says they are the absolute best. Short crust, pastry, milk, cream, eggs, and sugar. Well, it seems pretty straightforward. An egg tart. An egg
work
tart.
And properly unites space and time
We're gonna have to
once
make
and
an
for
egg
all.
tart.
He says that moving through space affects how you measure time, because the 3 dimensions of space and one of time are actually woven together into a single fabric that he called space-time. But how do we know that space and time are actually bundled up together into the space-time that the block universe is made of? Proof would eventually come in tests of Einstein's general theory of relativity.
He stole that. Arden Shara says the present is the current conscious moment, meaning any period of time it takes for your neurons to fire and allow instantaneous conscious perception. My opinion, anyways. That could be. It could be. So a moment is whoever decides what it happens to be. All right, so we don't have like a standardized unit of what the present is, which makes sense because I've never heard it. I've never heard of like, oh, this is one present moment, and it's a metric system, and it's 4 meters long. I don't know the metric system well.
Which he presented to the world.
That must be true.
In 1915. Back in the 1840s, astronomers had harnessed Newtonian gravity to discover an entirely new planet. Using Newton's equations to predict the future path of Uranus, they had found that it appeared to deviate from that path. The French astronomer Urbain Le Verrier pored over the equations for months, searching for an answer. Was Newtonian gravity wrong after all? Not quite. Le Verrier suggested that an unseen, more distant planet pulls on Uranus and affects its orbit. If correct, Newton's laws of gravity would be vindicated, and in 1846, Neptune was found. Despite this success, and although he didn't know it yet, Le Verrier was about to hammer the first nail into Newtonian gravity's coffin. Planets don't have circular orbits, but slightly changing elliptical ones, with the sun offset from the center.
There's a pickup line in there. Like, girl, are you a planet? Because I want to pull Uranus like Neptune. Is that... I just thought of it. I need to hammer it out. Okay, give me a minute at least.
Newtonian
or somebody else work it out, right? There's a bunch of people in the chat doing nothing for me except for hitting that like button, which I would definitely appreciate. Finish my jokes, please. Okay, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to put the effort into it.
That
Please,
these slightly changing orbits was due to the gravitational pull
there is
of
something
the other
there,
planets,
though, right?
And Newton's equations were correct in their predictions for all of them, except one: Mercury. Le Verrier realized this in 1859, and the search began for another new planet, but no such world was ever found. Instead, the answer came from Einstein.
Ardenshire says it's probably measured in Planck seconds or some shit. No, it's not, because Planck seconds are still a unit of time, and the present is no... Okay, you're saying that the present is how long it takes for all the processes in your brain to register that moment, okay? But what if somebody else processes it faster? It's not any... It's an instant. It's an infinitesimally small amount of time, right? So it basically doesn't exist. There is no present moment. This is just us constantly making new past. That's what this is. There's no... I mean, we can't agree on a present moment, right? We're all having our own present moment, and we're all on different sides of the... We're far away from each other, right? I don't know what that has to do with, but you know what I'm talking about, right? It doesn't have to do with the processes in your head. It just doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. The now does not exist.
On the 18th of November,
or maybe that's all that exists. I don't fucking know.
In 1915, he wrote a letter to the German mathematician David Hilbert. Today, I am presenting a paper in which I derive out of general relativity the perihelion motion of Mercury, discovered by Le Verrier. No gravitation theory had achieved this until now. Imagine the fabric of space-time as the surface of a trampoline. If you place something heavy...
Background noise says, why does he say Uranus like that? He says Uranus? Oh, to be PC and stuff, right? Like how they don't say, they used to say BC and AD. They don't say that anymore, right? Because it's offensive for some religions. So now they say BCE and CE, but I don't say that. I say BC and AD because I don't care. And I say Uranus too. I don't say Uranus. It's Uranus, and it stinks, and it blows hot gas.
Be in the center, it will sag in the middle.
I don't know much about space facts either.
Likewise, the presence of a massive object like the sun creates a dip in the fabric of space-time. Physicists call this a gravity well. Einstein was arguing that there is no Newtonian gravitational pull at all. It is merely a mirage.
I want to put my rocket on Uranus, in Uranus. Something like that. I'm just going to be thinking of Uranus jokes. So, you guys can move on without me. I'm going to be sitting here thinking of Uranus
As the innermost
jokes.
planet, Mercury moves more deeply into the Sun's gravity well than its neighbours. The deeper it goes, the more the local space-time becomes curved, and it's this increased curvature that causes Mercury's orbit to change. For all the other planets, the curvature is subtle enough that Newtonian gravity gives the same answer. Only in the extreme gravitational environment that Mercury inhabits does Newtonian gravity show itself for what it really is, a good approximation. Gravity is not a pull.
Hey, Amanda.
It's the result of curved space-time.
We're talking about time travel. We're trying to time travel because we've all made plenty of mistakes. And let's just face it, the 2020s blow. They blow dick. They blow hard dick. And they also suck Uranus. We're also talking about planets. So we're all trying to go back. And there's this documentary that we're trying to figure out if we can go back, and there's a bunch of paradoxes and shit. It's not looking great now, but we're gonna figure it out. We'll figure it out. I'm pretty sure if we all drink some sort of rat poison laced Kool-Aid, we can catch some sort of time machine. Yada, 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 and then we're there.
Since then, astronomers have tested this idea in myriad ways, from solar eclipses
and then we're there.
to swirling black holes and rippling gravitational waves. And in every experiment, space-time passes with flying colors. Our entire cosmos of past, present, and future, merely a four-dimensional block of malleable space-time that just sits there. A supernatural being that could somehow look upon it from the outside world would clearly see yesterday, today, and tomorrow happily coexisting. But where?
Yeah. So, like a fourth dimensional being, right? It's like we're three-dimensional beings, and we have three dimensions, right? But there could be two-dimensional beings, and then we would be the extra-dimensional beings to them, right? And like, we cast shadows onto their realm, and they have no idea what that is. It's just sometimes it gets dark and stuff. And for us, maybe fourth dimensional beings cast shadows into our realm, and that's how we get like shadow people or ghosts or some shit like that. I don't know. That's a theory, right? Why couldn't fourth dimensional people also cast shadows onto us, and we just don't know what the hell they are, right? Because we don't have that fourth dimension. We can't see like that. So we just assume that we're going through time, or we're seeing ghosts or some shit, and it's actually fourth dimensional people. Or what if we are the shadows of fourth dimensional creatures, right? We are actually the embodiment of higher plane existence, but this is how we manifest in this three-dimensional space. And we just don't know it. I don't
Did this all come from? As with everything else, scientists believe that the Big Bang birthed all of space-time. In other words, all of space and all of time. The regions of time we refer to as the past, the present, and the future are all there together in their entirety. And so it's as easy for two people to exist then and now as they do here and there. They can be separated by centuries of time, just as they can be separated by kilometers of distance. Any object within this block universe can be given 4 coordinates. 3 spatial to say exactly where it is, and 1 temporal to say exactly when it is.
But what if time isn't? What if time is another spatial dimension, and we're just moving through it? So we're moving through a space, but we experience it as time because we can't recognize the fourth dimension. There's a lot of depression going on in the chat. Forrest Bumby says, fuck, man, I'm tired of being on any plane of existence. For real, for real. No cap. Amanda says, deja vu is us in another galaxy communicating to each other. That's interesting, right? Or it could be the Matrix theory. It could be the Matrix theory, right? That's still very possible. And even today, I had some Mandela effect thing happen to me, right? Because I saw one of those little tykes, like little tykes, like scooters. Thing, you know what I'm talking about? The brand. I thought it was spelled with a Y. Apparently, it's spelled with an I. Has it always been spelled with an I? Am I Mandela affecting myself? Or did the universe kind of do a sidestep to the next closest one? And this one they spell with an I because the other one is too close to little dykes. And I understand why people would find that offensive, even though people are too sensitive. And dykes don't matter anyway. They're barely people. Yeah. Am I on YouTube? Yep. Well, I'm gone. I'm off YouTube now.
Imagine that an object's location in the block is marked by a dot. Even the dot of a physically stationary object moves because its time coordinate is constantly changing as second ticks after second, and today relentlessly becomes tomorrow. Join all the dots belonging to one particle, and you have a line that maps out its path through the block universe. A world line. You are nothing but a collection of particle world lines woven together, a knot in space-time, shedding and absorbing new world lines as you move towards the day the knot that is you undoes itself, or is undone. All the actions you will ever take, from what you'll have for breakfast every day, to if and who you'll marry, and the houses and jobs you'll flip between, are all entirely mapped out. You can't deviate from your journey any more than a train can deviate from its tracks. In this way...
I don't know, I kind of believe that. I kind of believe we're destined to follow our path and we don't really have a choice. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't like that. I don't completely believe in free will. Because, like, what does that mean? Okay, can you choose not to age? Can you just choose what era you're born in? Can you choose how intelligent you are, how tall you are, how muscular you are? Can you choose any of these things? So how exactly do you have free will if there's so much left up to random chance and situation and genetics and stuff like that? It doesn't really seem like you have much free will at all. It seems like you're just a part. You're just playing your bit. And people don't choose to be homeless. I promise you, people don't choose to be homeless. They don't, right? But there's still a shitload of homeless people out there. How is that free will? Or is that just you being at the mercy of circumstance and biology? It's not exactly free will. But people don't like hearing that.
The block universe is like a book. The beginning, the middle, and the end are already written and unchangeable. Every choice you think you're making is actually pre-written, and so one that you're always going to make.
Amanda, for $10, says, I 100% believe there are other galaxies that have Earths like ours. Just like in the comics, we haven't even begun to fully see an end to space and what is out there. Well, I mean, you got here after I was talking about Google's Project Willow, which is a new quantum computer chip that apparently they're saying has proven that parallel universes, parallel reality exists, because that's how the chip works. It goes into parallel realities and uses them to figure out math problems, and it does this super fast. And that's what the guy at Google said, right? The hardware guy, he's all like, this proves that parallel realities exist, and we're doing it right here. This is how we're getting this data. We are going into parallel realities with this chip, and we are extracting information from them. We are using these parallel realities. And like I said before, that seems like a monumentally terrible, terrible idea, right? That seems like an awful idea, because now you're opening up what? Hell? a realm of demons, perhaps. Maybe you're broadcasting our position, our reality into the omniverse, multiverse, and now some sort of soul-eating demon is going to come out of wherever, and that's it for us. Maybe that's why we don't see aliens, because they got to a point of technological sophistication where they just did something stupid, and then the soul aliens came out, and then they ate everybody, or ate everyone's souls. That's a hypothetical, but it could be true.
A character caught in a love triangle on page 150 may be unaware that it gets resolved
It's not
50
demons?
pages later.
Okay.
But resolved,
I
it
thought.
will be, and in the way it was always going to be. And this is why our time traveler from the opening story had to invent the time machine. An older version of them had already indelibly appeared on an earlier page. Their world lines eventually...
JD Grab says, ask the Dutch, you always put your finger in the dike. Ayo. Ayo. Ayo.
looped back round to intersect with themselves at a previous point.
Yeah. It is demons. How do you know it's not demons, Amanda? How do you know it's not demons? Why, if they're opening up realities to like different dimensions and stuff like that, and a monster comes out, what makes that not a demon? Can I call it a demon, or do I have to be like politically correct and being like, it is an illegal or an undocumented monster. It's a dreamer. That's what it is. It's a dreamer. It's coming over into our reality because it wants our reality dream. It actually literally wants to steal our dreams. How's that now? It's going to steal our dreams while we're sleeping. It's going to come in and murder us in our sleep. How is that not demons, Manda?
Can this really happen? Can you travel to the seemingly long-distant past, or indeed the far-flung future? If over then is no different to over there, it seems that the door to time travel is well and truly open. In a distant corner of the universe, a gargantuan supermassive black hole is holding sway over an entire galaxy. Its intense gravity is pulling, stretching, and ripping up whole solar systems. Hot gas and dust whirl around it as its huge magnetic field spins up and spits out shrapnel.
Critical Thought says there is no evidence in history or science to suggest that a more intelligent being has goodwill toward a lesser species. Yeah, it's never been like that. And completely understandable, right? That's just basically how evolution works, period. So for aliens to come down and then be benevolent, maybe they think they're benevolent, but it's probably not going to be the case, right? When the pioneers or, the pilgrims came over, they wanted to make friends with the Indians. And they were friends for like 5 minutes. I think they sat down for one dinner. And then after that, they're all like, me want scalps. And then they're all like, well, we have smallpox if you want that. And then there it is. There you go. And now, centuries later, they all love firewater and gambling. And then we let them exist for that reason. So it's not positive. It's never a positive when a more intelligent creature comes across a less intelligent creature. It's not positive for the less intelligent creature. It's just not. It never has been. Despite what you might think that, maybe they have a prime directive and they're out to do good. There's some sort of Doctors Without Borders. Never in history, never once in history has it been a good thing when a more intelligent species has arrived to a place with less intelligent species. I'm just saying, that's just what you're right, Thought. You are right. So if what we're seeing now in New Jersey and stuff like that is aliens, which I kind of doubt, then we're fucked. But I don't think it's that. I think they're just looking for a nuclear warhead they think got into the country, and they're not letting people know because it would cause a panic. So we're not fucks, guys. We're okay. We're okay. They're just using drones to look for a nuclear signature in New York and New Jersey, but they don't want to tell people because a nuke might be in New York or New Jersey. But think it's aliens.
Into the void. Among this debris is a tiny subatomic bullet, a proton, which races across the cosmos as close to the speed of light as it's practically possible to get. It has 100 quintillion times more energy than an ordinary particle.
Forrest Mommy says the government loves moving less intelligent humans into America. Well, not our government.
Of light, and after traveling over 1 billion light
Wink,
years, it slams into Earth's atmosphere.
Israel!
21 million times the energy of collisions inside the famed large
Sorry. I have a lung thing going on.
Hadron Collider at CERN. It is so energetic that to this day, astronomers know it as the "Oh my God" particle. An example of an ultra-high energy cosmic ray, it is a reminder that the Earth sits in a celestial shooting gallery. And when rays like this one strike our atmosphere, the impact is so violent that it bursts into an invisible fireworks display of subatomic particles. Pions, muons, and neutrinos erupt and cascade down to the ground. In fact, cosmic rays are so plentiful that they give you an annual dose of radiation equivalent to 3 chest X-rays.
That's true. So, a lot of people don't know this. You're constantly being irradiated on some level. There's a background radiation, and you are constantly getting a little bit of radiation. If you go on an airplane, you get a much higher dose of radiation. But is that enough to, like, hurt you? I have no idea. I try to avoid radiation as much as possible. If, like, somebody wants me to get an X-ray, I say no, and I walk away. Because it's not good. You can't undo radiation. It's cumulative and it's permanent, right? So you get radiation and you keep radiation. So try to not get irradiated as much as possible, as much as you possibly can. Just try not to. You don't know how long you're going to live, and you don't want, an X-ray you did when you were a kid be the end of you. Or something else terrible.
And for one Italian physicist, cosmic rays became an obsession. His
Forrest Mummy says, radiated by D's nuts.
groundbreaking work on the muon.
It can come from many sources. And if you have testicles that are radioactive, your kids are going to be superheroes.
Created by cosmic rays.
Or monsters.
Producing some of the first.
Most likely monsters. Or just turn into some sort of goo in the womb, right? And then they just slip out. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. You're sick, Forrest Mommy.
Evidence that time travel to the future is not only possible, but commonplace. And his name was Bruno Rossi.
Obedience says just use Radaway, John. It's not Fallout. It's not Fallout. I like the reference, but Fallout 3 kicked ass. And New Vegas was really good, too. I didn't like 4 as much. Never played 76. But Fallout 3 kicked ass.
Rossi is behind the wheel of an old bus, snaking along.
Oh, and Radaway doesn't work. Radaway is not a real thing. So that's it. That's just it. You can't use Radaway because it doesn't exist.
The highest road in the world, where pine trees compete with snow-capped mountains to reach the sky. Eventually, he arrives at the place he's driven over 1,000 miles from Chicago to reach, Echo Lake. Nestled high up in the Mount Evans wilderness of Colorado, part of the world-famous Rocky Mountains, it sits almost 2,300 meters above sea level.
That's pretty high.
Up in the mountains, Rossi is measuring the muons created by cosmic rays. Muons are unstable particles, and so they quickly break down or decay. Physicists call the time it takes for half of a group of muons to make this change their half-life. It is just 1.56 millionths of a second. But Rossi's measurements reveal something curious. Far more muons are reaching the ground than there should be. Even though the muons are traveling at more than 98% of the speed of light, over 15 half-lives should still elapse by the time they make it down to Echo Lake. With each successive half-life removing 50% of the remaining muon population, just 0.1% should reach Rossi. And so how come he is able to detect significantly more than that?
How do you know?
The remarkable answer was that the muons were time traveling into our future.
Oh. Do you guys know what retrocausality is? So like you guys know the double slut experiment where you get two hoes. No, the double slit experiment where it's like it changes the outcome of the experiment based on. Oh, thanks for the raid, man. Dan's not rated. Yeah, it changes the outcome of the experiment based on whether somebody is watching or not. So apparently you can change electrons whether you look at them or not, right? So you can do this in a very short term, but you can also do this with like galaxies and stuff. They've done this with galaxies where they've observed particles that have landed, which change the state of the particles all the way back millions of light years in the past. And so it like changes all the way back. So it goes back in time. So that's weird. That's a weird thing. So I guess things can go forward and back in time. But can we do it? That's a good question. That's the question.
Einstein's special theory of relativity says that you can think of anything moving through space-time as having a budget equal to the speed of light. The more of that budget you spend on moving fast through space, the less you spend on time. As the muons are traveling at close to the speed of light, considerably less time passes for them than for Rossi. From their perspective, fewer half-lives have elapsed, and so there simply hasn't been enough time for 99.9% of them to decay. This effect...
Critical Thought says, I tried the double slit experiment at a strip club, and the fact that the bouncer was watching did change my bill. Were you the stripper, or were you the customer at this strip club? Because they don't want you showing your slit if you're a customer. You know, they don't want competition. They don't want you to box them out, so to speak.
Is called relativistic time dilation, and when Rossi factored it in, exactly
that's an honest
the
question.
Right
what were you
of
doing at that
muons
strip club?
reached the ground.
You were working there, right?
But you may ask, does this really count as time travel? Imagine instead that you are the muon, but instead of traveling from the upper atmosphere to Echo Lake, you travel on a big loop around the universe at the same 98% of the speed of light and return home 25 years older. Those of us left on Earth will have been spending less of our space-time budget on speed than you, and so it will cost us more in time. But to us, you have spent your budget differently, foregoing time to travel through.
Critical Thought says, I was just talking about science. Just science. So you set up a lab. You had a little laboratory with like an electron gun, and then you had the slits, and then like the receiving board and stuff like that. And you're all like, "Come, look at here!" And did you have a lab coat? It's a weird place to do science experiments at a strip club, but you got to do it somewhere, I suppose.
Space. 25 years
Biology
may have passed for you
experiments,
while
sure.
you were gone, but 125 have elapsed
Physics
on Earth. You have skipped forward a whole century. Indeed, such a journey could mess with the normal generational order of family relationships, as is poignantly explored in the short story Memories of My Mother by Ken Liu. And so time travel to the future is more than possible. We just have to accelerate humans to close to light speed. That is far from straightforward, however, because the faster you travel, the more energy you have. Einstein's famous equation E = mc squared tells us that energy and mass are interchangeable, so if you gain energy, you also gain mass. In other words, the faster you travel, the heavier you get to an outside observer. A person traveling at 99.99% of the speed of light would weigh almost 2 tons, or about the same as a rhino. And accelerating them to that speed would require as much energy as everyone on Earth currently uses in 3 months.
Yeah, we could do that, though, right? I'll turn the lights off. I won't have the show for 3 months, and I'm sure everybody else will do the exact same. And then we'll pick a guy, preferably lighter, and then just fire him off into space to never see his family again. And he'll return in a few centuries, or maybe not. It doesn't really matter because we'll all be dead. It would be for the history books, though, right? Because they would write down that everyone just turned off their lights and then shot a guy into space in some sort of execution. We don't know why. That's what they would say. That's what would go down in the history books. They shot him into the sun for some reason. It was costly and it was unnecessary, but that's what they did. Crazy assholes back then. Crazy.
Understandably, we are very far from pulling that off, but even today, time dilation leads to some bizarre consequences.
Critical Thought says, yeah, I made that bitch my Miss Frizzle. Was that sexual?
Take Mark and Scott Kelly both.
You remember that time that Miss Frizzle took all those kids and they were exploring that other kid's butt? They went in that kid's butt and they were like exploring around. They were... It's a real episode. There was like poop involved.
Former NASA astronauts who...
And Miss Frizzle was stoked. She was absolutely stoked. Lily Tomlin? Is that her name? Miss Frizzle? She was stoked about all the poop.
Also happen to be twins. Mark was born 6 minutes before his brother. However, Scott has spent about 10 times longer in space, 520 days to Mark's 54 days. During these extra days, Scott was whizzing through space-time faster than his brother, spending more of his budget on speed and less on time. In other words, more time has passed for Mark than for Scott. Mark may have started out life 6 minutes older than his twin, but he is now 6 minutes and 5 milliseconds older. Had Scott been traveling as fast as a muon instead, their age gap would have widened to nearly 6.5 years, despite initially being born on the same day. And as if that weren't enough, there is another entirely separate form of experimentally verified time dilation, a second way to time travel into the future. Picture a clock, except this clock works differently to any you've seen hanging on a wall. It is simply made of 2 horizontal mirrors. A beam of light bounces between the 2 mirrors, and every time the light hits a mirror, the clock ticks. Let's imagine you have 2 identical copies of this clock. You set them running before taking one of them deep inside a gravity well, like the ones explored in the last section. Space-time is more curved inside a gravity well, and so the space-time between the clock's mirrors will also be curved. The beam of light will have no option but to follow this longer, curved path. In other words, the clock will now tick less frequently than the clock you've left behind far from the gravity well. Bring them back together, and more time will have elapsed on the clock that did not encounter the gravity well. But how can this be used to time travel into the future? Well, go and enter a deep gravity well and then return to Earth. More time will have passed on Earth.
Background noise says we don't need to move through space. We need to move the space around us. Man. Get stoned, you guys. It seems like this is a get stoned kind of program. We're already 20 minutes. I guess we're halfway through the show. Yeah, get stoned. Whatever. I mean, if we figure this out, and I think we have a good shot of figuring this out tonight, we'll be the cult that figured out time travel. And there's no limit to our power after that. Or we just tell people that. We just tell people we figured it out.
You could hop forward a century, just as you did by traveling at close to the speed of light. However, to achieve a genuinely significant amount of time travel using this method, you'll need a very deep gravity well indeed, one far bigger than the sun's. A supermassive black hole should do the trick as long as you're careful not to get sucked in. And
thought black hole, Uranus. There's a lot of sex jokes that could be made, and I feel like you're a little quiet tonight. You did the double slit thing, and Yeah, that was that. Do you have anything about your sucking black hole? Come on, help me out. I'm really not trying to not try tonight.
And just such a scenario was used
I wish I could go back in time and prepare a little
as a
bit more.
key plot point.
But I can't. This is it. This is what you guys get. This is all I have for you.
Film Interstellar, suggested by the famous physicist Kip Thorne. But Earth also creates its own gravity well in space-time. When Rossi drove his bus up the winding road to Mount Evans, he was moving further out of this well. In other words, he moved from a region where space-time was more curved to a region where it was less curved.
Obedient to us, it's time to penetrate the cosmos. Yeah.
He aged
Yeah, okay.
at a fractionally
All right.
faster rate up the mountain than he did down the mountain. This difference is so tiny that a human is never going to notice, but atomic clocks do. The best are such good timekeepers that they are accurate to within a 15 billionth of a second every year. If you sync up two atomic clocks on the same shelf of a laboratory and then place them on shelves of different heights, they will noticeably drift out of time.
That's pretty funny. That's crazy. Apparently these atomic clocks can like measure ripples in space-time too, and they do that to look for like neutron stars that exploded or something like that. I think I remember hearing something.
In
like
2022, physicists measured this gravitational time dilation using ultra-precise atomic clocks placed just a millimeter apart. And finally, you're likely to rely heavily on time dilation, probably without even realizing it. GPS has become an indispensable part of modern life for many of us. Our phones and cars can tell where they are on Earth thanks to an armada of satellites swarming around the planet. These satellites send out time-stamped signals, and the quicker you receive one, the nearer you must be to that satellite. In order to achieve this, the satellites carry atomic clocks, which are subject to both forms of time dilation. They are both moving through space-time faster than us and sit further outside Earth's gravity well. The time on the clocks has to be artificially altered in order to account for the fact that they are moving through time at a different rate to us. These experiments leave physicists in little doubt that time travel to the future is possible. It is established scientific fact. But what about heading in the other direction?
To the
Is it
past.
possible to head upstream and visit the past?
Okay, so you can travel to the future. So the future is there, and then why? So the past must be there too, which is weird to think about, right? Is it me? Is it somebody like me? Is it if I went back into the past and fought myself, who would win? I would win. But that's not that's I mean like who would I guess I'm an older version, so I would be at a disadvantage. However, you know, there's been times when I've been in better shape and then not as good shape, so maybe I'll just go when I was just like a little bit less in shape, I'll go beat that guy's ass, and then that'll inspire me to get into better shape, which will make me into me that will want to go into the past and kick my own ass. And then I'm just stuck in a time loop of kicking my own ass and then feeling bad that I got my ass kicked by future me, and then getting buff and then getting in a time machine and kicking my own ass. It could get annoying. It could get annoying. Like, well, what else would I do though? I would have no choice. I would have no choice.
It is 2011. Barack Obama is president, Prince William and Kate Middleton are newlyweds, and NASA's iconic space shuttle.
God, 2011. Jesus. Was it just 2011? Was it just 2011? Because it feels like that was not very long ago. It feels like 2020 was yesterday. And that's probably because of this stupid pandemic. And then everyone stopped doing what they were doing. And then just time stopped. Because now we're like, it's 2025. Now it's 2025 almost. What the fuck happened to the first half of the decade? It just disappeared. I remember when the pandemic came through, and it since then, it's just been, I don't know. The time has gone by so fast. Is that just me, or is that like, have other people experienced that the 2020s did not seem to last as long as they should have? It's 2025 now. Does it seem like 5 years have passed since the pandemic? Since 2020? No, right? No. You guys remember the pandemic, right? That just wasn't me, was it?
Lands for the last time.
No, I'm sure.
In September,
I'm sure.
physicists make a shock announcement, one that rocks the scientific establishment. They seem to have observed particles called neutrinos traveling faster than the speed of light. If true, it would shatter one of the holiest doctrines in physics and open the door to backwards time travel. The bold claim comes from the Opera experiment buried deep under Italy's Gran Sasso mountain. Designed to detect neutrinos fired 730 kilometers through the Earth from CERN near Geneva in Switzerland, making that journey at the speed of light would take a mere 2.4 milliseconds. Yet some of the neutrinos appear to be taking 16 nanoseconds less than that. In other words, they seem to have gotten there traveling faster than the speed of light. Einstein's special theory of relativity says that the speed of light is an impenetrable barrier. The faster you travel, the heavier you get. The heavier you get, the more energy it takes to increase your speed further.
But these things don't have mass at all, right? So it doesn't matter how heavy they get. They're still massless. So does that matter? I mean, that would matter, right? Because if they don't weigh anything, they're still not going to weigh anything. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter how fast they go.
Eventually, there comes a point when it requires an infinite amount of energy to increase your speed, so you can't. And that cutoff point is the speed of light. While a massless particle of light can travel at light speed, anything with mass cannot reach light speed, let alone exceed it. And so, inevitably, within a year, the neutrino mystery was solved. The experimental equipment was faulty. The neutrinos weren't superluminal after all.
Ah, bummer.
The initial finding caused such a stir because traveling faster than light would allow you to travel backwards in time. And the story of why starts with a young Dutchman by the name of Willem Jacob van Stockum. In 1937, van Stockum publishes a paper with the seemingly dull title of The Gravitational Field of a Distribution of Particles Rotating About an Axis of Symmetry. While mundane in name, it was revolutionary in nature, for it showed that Einstein's equations allowed closed time-like curves in space-time. Our world lines usually stretch from the past to the future, but a closed time-like curve is a world line that doubles back on itself, closing a loop as it intersects the line at a previous point.
This is how we go back in time. You have to go faster than the speed of light, and escape your light cone, right? I watched this already, so you have to go faster than the speed of light, and then you can go wherever you want in time, I guess. But you can't do that, right? Because you have mass. But information doesn't have mass, so you can send information faster than the speed of light. Maybe you can teleport your way there.
A pensioner following such world lines could revisit the moment of their birth, or even save their teenage self from a car accident. Von Stockum had demonstrated that, at least on paper, there is nothing in the general theory of relativity to forbid backwards time travel, except that at first glance it seems bending your future world line into a closed time-like curve requires you to travel faster than the speed of light, to travel outside of what is known as your light cone. If your world line is the singular path that you actually take through the block universe, then your light cone represents all the paths that it would have been at least possible for you to take. Imagine that you are stationary in space, your world line moving forwards in a straight line through time only. What are your options for where you can go in the future? Well, assuming that we stick with special relativity, you are confined by the fact that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light, which is approximately 300,000 kilometers per second.
Okay, but these orbs are traveling pretty fast too. So, if we are being invaded by aliens right now, which is possible, but I don't think so. I think it's just another government tactic for distraction, which is much more likely, right? The government lies to people, right? We know that for a fact. The government lies to people on a daily basis. And now the government is saying that aliens are here and everything that we see in the sky now is aliens and stuff like that. It just seems more likely that the government is just lying for their reasons, which are probably not positive for us, right? Because if they were positive for us, they wouldn't lie about them. If they weren't trying to kill us or something, they wouldn't lie about it. But it's much more likely that they're lying than aliens. But it could still be aliens. It could definitely be aliens. It could. But most likely it's just the government lying again. Like 99%.
1 second from now, you cannot be more than 300,000 kilometers away.
Nephilim? Is it
from where you
Nephilim?
are
It could be
currently.
Nephilim.
Yet you could be up to
Aren't
600,000.
Nephilim like huge though? Aren't Nephilim like 10 feet tall? Like God or angel humans, half angel, half humans. It could be them. It could be Nephilim living at the bottom of the ocean.
Kilometers away in 2 seconds, and 900,000 kilometers in 3. The further ahead in time you go, the bigger the region of space-time that your future world line is allowed to be in becomes. That's why it's called a light cone. The edges of the cone represent the furthest a beam of light can be from where it starts at any given point in space-time. And so unless you can travel faster than a beam of light, you are trapped within the same light cone. Meaning that in order to loop your future world line around, so that it intersects with itself at an earlier point, you would have to leave your light cone. In other words, time travel to the past appears impossible unless you can move faster than the speed of light.
Can you slow
But there
light
is
down?
another way to do it. If you constantly tilt your light cone so that your closed time-like curve to yesterday is always within it. And to do this, you would need to encounter space-time with an incredibly high amount of curvature. In 1974, the American physicist Frank Tipler explored this very situation, specifically what would happen to a cylinder containing at least 10...
Tipler. If you guys know about John Teeter, he describes the John Tudor. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's his name. Teeter. He describes his time traveling machine that he puts in his car as a Tipler device, right? And it's very specific. That's a very specific physicist to reference. He just nails it, right? So, I mean, maybe he knew a lot about physics and physicists back in whenever that came out. I think it was the early 2000s or something like that, which is possible. No one's saying that's not possible, but Tipler would be the one that you would reference, that the concept of time travel would come from. Like the machine that you would build would probably be some sort of Tipler kind of, it would be on the concept that he invented, is what I'm trying to say. Why can't I communicate that properly?
10 times the mass of the Sun and rotating along its longest axis. He showed that following a precise spiraling trajectory around this cylinder would warp your local space-time in such a way that your light cone would gradually tilt backwards. And as your world line must be somewhere within the cone, you would then be ferried from the present to the past.
Sweet.
Visiting a Tipler cylinder and then journeying back to Earth would see you arrive before you left in the first place.
Scott said, what did I finally have? Did we finally have disclosure? No. And we're just talking about time travel. So maybe we'll be able to do this in like a matter of months or years. There's a lot of stuff going on with quantum computing and, aliens or whatnot. Maybe we're going to be able to do this soon. Or maybe we're all going to be eradicated by the year 2030. Both are reasonably possible. I kind of think the latter is probably more likely, though. But I have a bunker that I'm not telling you I'm not telling you where it is, and I'm using your guys' money to build it.
Place. However, in order to tackle the
So
fiendishly
Amanda's $10 is going straight to the bunker fund.
difficult
So
mathematics, Tipler had to assume that
it's a very small bunker. It's a small bunker. But where's your bunker? Huh? Do you have a big old bunker? No. I bet not. My bunker's in Uranus.
the cylinder is
And then
infinitely
right back to the
long.
Uranus
He
jokes.
couldn't conclusively prove that a shorter one would do the trick. It would
Scott
also
says I've been napping this evening. What, did I miss it? No, man. No. Why are you napping? You don't nap when my
have to
show's on.
rotate billions of times a minute to warp space-time enough. Hardly features of a practical time machine. Then, in the 1990s, Stephen Hawking added another layer of complexity. He argued that getting a Tipler cylinder that isn't infinitely long to work would also require huge amounts of negative energy. And it is here
I got huge amounts of negative energy. And then Jess is like, snap out of it. And I'm like, and then I'm just depressed and I mope around all day.
that quantum
It
mechanics
doesn't help me time travel, but it bums people out. Yeah. And then I'm like, I'm just a hurt person.
enters our story. One of the pillars of modern physics,
It's just like,
alongside
I know.
Einstein's general theory of relativity, it deals with the subatomic world. According to quantum physics, even empty space isn't truly empty. Pairs of so-called virtual particles are popping in and out of existence all the time.
Scott says, oh, nice. Cult-funded bunker. Yes, but it is very small. It's like, you know how Saddam Hussein hid in that hole? That's kind of the bunker I'm talking about. It's not really a bunker. It's more like a grave. So, if you guys want to hop in the grave with me,
Energy is borrowed from the
come on down. There's a little fan. It gets so hot. It gets so hot in there. But, boy, there's no electricity. Well, there's electricity, but it's just for a fan. So, and there's not a lot of air. That's why you need the fan. But you guys can come on down to my little grave, and then we can ride out the apocalypse together. I'll let you lay on top of me. How about that? You guys want you want to lay on top of me? We can like switch it around. So like your head goes down to my feet and then your feet go down to my head to not make it gay. I don't want to make it gay. Or like if you're a girl, I don't want to make it uncomfortable. So, and then we'll just do that where like one person will be like that and then another person like that, another person like that. And then again, not a sex cult, but we might have to take our clothes off because it's going to be so hot. It's so hot. There's nowhere. And it's going to be really sweaty and it's going to stink. So, if you're cool with all that and not being a sex cult, hop on in the grave with me.
the vacuum to create them, taking the local energy
on in,
just
guys.
below zero in the same way that your bank
To this sweaty hell that I call my bunker, but it's really just a pit full of naked people.
balance drops into negative territory
like
when you go
Buffalo
into the
Bill.
overdraft and borrow money from the bank. Just like the bank, however, the universe eventually wants its money back. So negative energy is out
Okay, well, the money doesn't belong to the bank. The bank has nothing, right? So does the universe also have nothing? The bank doesn't have money, right? The bank has you, and you give the bank money. It doesn't give you shit. It says you have money, but it doesn't really have it. It's you giving your time to the bank. That's the real thing. So maybe the universe is the same way.
there, but it's limited to tiny regions of space for fleetingly short amounts of time.
Jess is eating key lime pie. What do you think about my grave?
What?
Are you going to dance on it?
Right next to you.
She's going to kill me.
As a result, closed time-like curves may exist in the subatomic realm, but creating a time loop big enough for a human to travel along to revisit the past seems an entirely different proposition.
Scott says before you know it, there will be a Sulk coin on the market. And I'll do a rug pull, right? Just like that Haley Welch girl did. I'll pump it up, and then when it gets to like, I don't know, 500 mil or something like that, then I'm going to do the rug pull, and then everyone will lose everything. And then I will just hide in my little grave, my sweaty grave, with all my naked cult followers. And I'll be like, don't look at me. This is not a sex cult. It's not a sex cult. Eat your pie. Focus on your pie. She's
On this pie?
yeah.
But there may be another
can't
way
help herself.
to achieve
She
the
can't help
same
herself.
thing. A way to cheat the sacrosanct rule of the
Yeah, you know you're not talking about that.
Pie.
Okay.
speed of light
Okay.
as the cosmic speed limit. A wormhole.
It's not a sex cult.
In
It's not a sex
1985, the celebrated astronomer, author,
cult.
and
Wormhole, though. Wormhole. Thought, do you have any jokes about wormhole? There's a black hole. There's a Uranus. Do you have a wormhole joke? Thought? Thought, are you there?
TV presenter Carl
I don't hear her.
Sagan published a novel called Contact. In it, an advanced alien civilization reaches out to humanity.
You guys have seen Contact, right? With, God, what is his name? Matthew McConaughey's in it, but also, what is that icy cold bitch that is really not attractive in any way, but people... Helen Hunt? Is that her name? I think that's her, Helen Hunt. Not attractive. But that's Contact. I'm sure you guys have seen Contact.
With the design of a device capable of sending a single person
Stop
across the
talking about
vast
my
chasm of
wife's pie.
space to the star Vega. Taking into account that nothing can go
Vega.
faster than light, this 25 light-year journey should take an extremely long time. So instead, Sagan wanted a way to get his heroine there far faster, but without invoking faster-than-light travel. Even though the book is finished, Sagan phones his friend Kip Thorne for advice. Sagan overnights the manuscript to Thorne, who reads it in the car the next day on his way to his daughter's graduation. A few quick calculations follow, and Thorne has the answer. What Sagan needed in his story is a wormhole. Imagine space-time as a sheet of paper, with the Earth at one end and Vega at the other.
Okay.
Now, instead of traveling the length of the paper, you fold the paper in half. After all, we know that space-time can be curved and bent. Earth and Vega are now right on top of each other. Hop the gap between them and you get there in no time at all. From the outside, it would look like you've got there by traveling faster than the speed of light. But at no point did you actually break through that sacred barrier. And so it follows that a wormhole can not only transport you to a different part of space, but it can also send you back in time. Let's say the wormhole to Vega is already set up. First, you need to attach the Earth mouth of the wormhole to a rocket and drag it round on a loop through the universe at close to the speed of light. As the wormhole has been spending more of its space-time budget on speed, less time will have elapsed from its perspective. This means that if you jump into the wormhole
Okay.
upon your return to Earth, you will emerge at the other end in the past.
Okay, there's a lot of
Crucially-
there's a lot of sexual innuendo in this. I'm not the only one getting that, right? I just feel like it's very sexy.
Though, you will
This is
also
a sexy wormhole.
be in the Vega star system. So it is backwards time travel, but not heading back into Earth's history. But there is still a way to pull that off too. Set the wormhole up in the right way, and the time difference between its mouths will be greater than the time it will take you to return to Earth via the conventional route. You will arrive on Earth before you jumped into the wormhole in the first place. At least, that's the theory. In practice, it gets a little more complicated. Thorne realized that the gravitational pull of anything traveling through the wormhole will act to pull it shut. You would need something to help prop it open. This, again, could be negative energy.
So some sort of wormhole gaper or what are those things? You know, like the MTF trans people use. What are those called? They gape the dilator. You need a wormhole dilator. That's what you need. And I'm sure it's going to be extremely painful for the wormhole. It's going to want to die.
But physicists have also explored the possibility of
Who's
using
a
everything
pervert?
from
Am I a
quantum
pervert?
entanglement.
Yeah, I'm
Entanglement.
starting a cult. What do you think, man? Huh? I'm starting a sex death cult. What do you think?
Magnetic fields.
This has all been a ruse. right? I don't care about time travel. I'm hitting it for the Uranus jokes or the wormhole dilator. If you guys can find me a wormhole dilator, there's good money in that, right? And you just need to deliver it to my P.O. box in Saddam's hidey hole.
In 1985,
That's
J.
where I'm gonna
Richard
be.
Gott and William Hiscock solved Einstein's equations for cosmic strings. 6 years later, Gott realized that they could also be used as a time machine. Just like spiraling around a Tipler cylinder, take the right path along cosmic strings, and you could end up tilting your light cone backwards. Quantum entanglement might be another option. Physicists know how to link two particles in such a way that changing one instantly changes the other, even if you separate them by huge distances. It's as if the information about the change you've made has traveled between the particles faster than the speed of light. But it has turned out to be impossible to actually transfer data superluminally using this method.
We just haven't figured it out. There's something wrong. We can do that, right? We just don't know. There's a problem with this. Would be called subspace communication. It's possible. We just can't figure out how. So we kind of think it's impossible because if we can't figure it out within like 10 years, then we're like, it's just impossible. But somebody's going to figure it out.
So it seems there are multiple ways you might be able to travel backwards in time without breaking the light speed barrier. But were it to be possible, what could you do about the paradoxes? Well, quantum theory might offer a solution there, too. The handcuffs
Time
dig into your
streams.
wrists and
That's
sweat
what I should have fucking called this one. I should call it a time stream.
streams down your face as you stare at the table in front of you. On that table rests a glass vial of lethal gas next to a hammer on the end of a robotic arm. A robotic arm connected to a machine that is constantly measuring subatomic particles. These particles can be in one of two states, A or B, and the chance of measuring each outcome is 50-50. It's effectively a convoluted coin toss.
This
If
is
the
the
outcome of the
Schrodinger's
measurement
cat.
is A, nothing
This
happens.
Schrodinger's cat. That's this experiment. That's what this is. So, it's superpositions and all that.
But if it is B, the hammer falls, the vial is shattered, and you die.
Quantum immortality. I've
The
talked about
machine
this before.
You will make 100 measurements before the people watching from the other room will allow you to leave. Your odds of survival are around 1 in a million trillion trillion. You can feel your heart pounding in your chest as the machine makes its first measurement. A. You relax slightly, only to tense up again ahead of the next measurement a few seconds later. A again. After the 10th A in a
Nailing
row,
it.
you begin to feel hopeful. Surely you can't survive this.
You're going to survive.
After 99 consecutive A's, you're practically giddy. It all comes down to one final measurement. The machine
So there's a million, billion, trillion chance of you not living. And then you get to the 99th one. And then the last one kills you. That would suck. That would be cruel.
clicks. A. Your captors are true to their word and unlock the handcuffs.
Scott said 01110010101001, and that's I read binary, but not anymore. I'm non-binary now, so
Although
I'm
you
offended. I'm offended that you're not using my non-binary pronouns.
Don't know it yet.
So
Your
don't-
unlikely survival
That's
against
stupid.
seemingly impossible
Why did you put that there?
odds just provided proof of the many worlds interpretation of quantum theory, with potentially
Forrest Money says, I'm back. I had to watch some city council shit. I've been talking to you this whole time, Forrest Money. Are you seriously? You've not been here? How long have you been gone? Let's see. That's Forrest Money right there. She said existence. Or exist for.
the
Welcome back,
important
Forrest Money.
consequences for resolving time travel paradoxes.
I've just been a retard. And apparently a pervert, too. So, I mean, who's surprised? Who's shocked? You guys want to, go back in time and make so I'm never born? Then go ahead. Then the Sulk stream is no more, right? The whole thing ends, and then you get caught in a paradox because then you don't have any reason to go back in time besides stopping me. That's the only reason I could see anybody doing it, is to stop me. I'm very egocentric. I think the whole world revolves around me. I'm a solipsist. Is that the right term? Where I believe that everyone else is fake, but I'm real. And solipsism. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. So you guys are all imaginary in my head. Forest Mommy is actually not here at all. She never has been here. There's nobody named Forest Mommy. It's just me. After I've been lobotomized, I'm in some 1920s mental institution where they don't even wipe my ass because it's such low-grade healthcare. And I'm imagining myself 100 years in the future where the world is ending, and I run a very small show. I crazy me that's been lobotomized in the past is not shooting for the stars. Okay. He understands his limits. He's like, I'm not great, but I can be okay. So I'm going to have 34 people in my chat, and then that'll be respectable, and I'll go to sleep happy. Mind you, I'm lobotomized, and somebody is probably raping me, one of the orderlies most likely at this time, and I am escaping. This is me escaping into another time. So tell me that time travel is not real, and I will tell you that I'm getting raped by the orderlies in 1924, and then there's like a record playing. It's very creepy. It's a creepy situation.
This is a human version of the famous Schrodinger's cat thought experiment. The original
That's a pissed off cat. You see the cat? It's a pissed off cat.
imagined victim was a feline in a box with the same vial.
Oh, Scott says 011 001 01 01 001 equals it's a sex cult. That's not how binary works, man. Or maybe it is. Because a lot of times I just straight up lie on this show and act like I know how things work, like binary. I have no idea how binary works. I mean, I understand that it is information and there's a yes and there's a no, but I can't read it. So I'm going to say that that is not what that says. But I don't know.
Of poison and hammer. Quantum physics says that instead of being in state
sure.
A or state B, the particle is initially in both
Yeah, we're non-binary here. Wait, what?
state A and state
No,
B.
we are binary. But like not like zeros and ones.
At the same time, something physicists call a superposition of
Oh, Scott says it's Boolean algebra, Sulk. Oh, somebody wants to bring in Boolean algebra. And that the only way I know that term is because I used Blender at one point in my life. And that was part of it. I forget exactly what it means, but I remember how to pronounce it.
states. Except that means that the
Forest Mommy says, I'm a 0. Are you okay, Forest Mommy? Are you okay tonight? You seem bummed. Usually I get this kind of attitude from Thought, and I don't know where she is right now. But are you doing all right? Because this is the Sulk stream, and I feel like you're kind of upstaging me a little bit, and I don't appreciate that.
File is also simultaneously unbroken.
I'm supposed to be the depressed one. I'm supposed to be the sad one. Not you. Not Forest Mommy, who lives amongst nature and, pets deer that come out of the woods and they love you and stuff, and you sing songs to birds. I don't know if that's what you do, but I'm pretty, that's what I think when I think of Forest Mommy.
And broken, and that the cat and you were both alive and dead until the point the next measurement is made. Is there something about actually making the measurement that forces the universe to finally choose one way or another. Not according to the many worlds interpretation of quantum theory. Brainchild of physicist Hugh Everett III, it says that every time there's an event in the quantum world that has more than one outcome, all outcomes happen. At that point, the universe fractures into two copies of itself. Outcome A happens in one, outcome B in the other reality.
So, in another reality, our cult is not a sex cult.
Is therefore constantly branching off to fashion a tree of possibilities. The great river of time bifurcates into infinitely many separate streams. There are some in which you were never born, and others where you are president of the earth. If true, making 100 measurements with the poison and hammer machine would have created 100 different branches of reality. You died in
And so, yeah, apparently every time you make a decision or whatnot, if decisions actually are real, you make a new reality where you made the opposite decision or you made a handful of other decisions, whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't think, I mean, I would believe that multiple realities are a thing. Apparently Google confirmed this. I still don't think that people have free will. I think your decisions are driven by a lot of things, but your brain wants to think you have free will to keep you sane, right? Because if you're just doing these things automatically and then you have no control over your life, then that could be very frustrating and drive you insane. But isn't that exactly what's basically happening to like everybody right now? Like, do people really have that much control over their life? It doesn't seem like that. It really doesn't seem like that. And that's why everyone's so fucking bummed these days. I don't see it. I don't see free will being a thing. Maybe it is.
99 of them, and survived
I don't think so.
in one. As the sole surviving copy of yourself, you marvel.
What if you're born retarded? And then did you choose to be retarded? Can you fully make your own decisions? Right? No, you can't. So you didn't choose to be retarded. And by being retarded, you make retarded decisions. But is that you, your innermost being, wanting to make retarded decisions? No, of course not. No one wants to make retarded decisions. But you do. And like 90% of the population does. Makes retarded decisions. At least.
At your own luck. The 99 copies of yourself in the other branches, though, aren't so fortuitous.
See, here's the thing that scares me about quantum immortality, which is this idea that every time you die in one reality, and then the time you exist, right? Because realities branch off. I'm just the one existing that survived all the shit that I've done, right? Because there's been several occasions where I've been like, I should have just died there. I really, really should have died right then. Why am I not dead right now? And knowing this, I'm like, oh, I did die. And in some other alternate reality, people are like, wow, that's a bummer. He died. But I'm like, wow, I can't believe I survived that. And I mean, I guess it's not that concerning to me. I don't really care about other realities because they don't affect me. But it's just weird to think about. Like, oh, I did actually die. And here I am in some alternate reality where things are pretty much the same, only Little Tykes is spelled with an I instead of a Y. That really pisses me off for some reason. And I just roll with it. And here I am, married with 2 kids. Something that people would be shocked to hear that person that died has. So maybe it is quite a bit different.
Covering a sliding scale from those who died after one measurement to those who went through the whole process only to die on the 100th.
Forrest Money says, I'm free to use Mr. FM's credit card, but there are still limits. Can you donate like $5,000? Just asking. I'm just asking, right? It's just, you have your free will to do that. But I will take that
This is
from
known
Mr. FM, and I will be like, thank you so much, FM.
as the quantum immortality experiment. There will
I will. Okay, I promise I'll spend it all on Jess. How about that? Does that do it for you, Forest Mommy? I will give every dime to Jess.
always be a version of you that stubbornly refuses
You guys talk. You guys text each other. I know you guys text each other.
to die, no matter how many times the machine makes a measurement. In a sense, it's a game of Russian roulette that you can never lose. While physicists do not know whether this interpretation of quantum physics is the right one, the many worlds
Forest Mommy says, yeah, I'm just on my period. Okay. You know what? You know what I don't like about Jess? I love her so much, right? But she always tells me when she has to poop. She always tells me when she's all like, hold this baby, I'm going to go poop. I'm like, you could just tell me to hold the baby. You could just tell me to hold the baby. You don't have to be like, I'm going to go poop. I'm going to go poop. I'm going to go poop. And I'm like, how many times do you poop in a day? Well, is this normal for girls to poop this much? Is it? Do girls poop that much? Why do you got to tell me? I don't care if you're going to go poop, right? There's a room with a door and a fan. It's supposed to be private. It's supposed to be discreet, right? That's why we built the room. We didn't build the room in like the kitchen or the living room where you could just lounge around pooping. No, it's in a corner of the house and like, you know, you can sneak off and take a dump. I'm okay with that, right? You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me. But every single time she tells me. And I'm like, why? Because she knows I'm probably horny. And this is a way of like throwing off the trail, throwing off the scent, right? Trying to distract me. But it backfired.
theory could help us resolve many of the paradoxes that are often associated with time travel.
Forrest Mommy says, I only do one in the AM these days. Okay, so now everyone's fucking talking about it. Great. Hey, Cool Frog, what's up?
To the past. Take, for example, the most famous paradox of all, the grandfather paradox. You use your time machine to go back and murder your grandfather as a child. However, that means he never reaches adulthood, never meets your grandmother, and so your own mother is never born. If your own mother was never born, then you weren't either, so how did you go back in time to murder your grandfather in the first place?
Obedient to Us says girls can rabbit poop like 4 times at 2 to 4 minutes each. Yeah, it's quick. It's quick. And I'm like, well, you're already done pooping? And it's like, for guys, it's just like such a big job. When I go poop, like it's in the morning, right? And then I like come out and I'm drenched in sweat. And I need like a Gatorade afterwards. And I'm like, I just need a minute, okay? And then but she doesn't do that. That's not her thing, right? So it's much more petite than mine. Mine's very construction worker-esque.
Place. Writers, philosophers, and
I'm in
scientists
a sun-baked porter john.
have come up with various
Oh shit!
humanity.
Oh shit! Oh fuck!
It's a crime
I
without
hit the wrong
unlikely survival
button.
constantly your grandfather in the first place.
Okay, I think that's
Writers,
where we are.
philosophers, and scientists have come up with various ways
Scott, is that Yanni face for my poops, or are you just are you bored? I am so sorry that you're bored. This is a butthole.
to circumvent this issue. Stephen Hawking introduced what he called the chronology protection conjecture. It states that backwards time travel is simply impossible. The universe would act to rob you of any opportunity to go back in time. Cause and effect, sacrosanct, and tightly policed. Igor Novikov mused on something similar. His eponymous self-consistency principle says that you can go back in time, but that you can't change what's already happened. If you revisit an earlier page in the book of the block universe, you cannot rewrite what is already there. Attempt to murder your younger self, and you will fail. Maybe the gun jams, perhaps they sneeze and you miss. Try as you might, you could never succeed.
So it's like Mr. Magoo, right? You try to go back and murder Mr. Magoo, and he's gonna like just by pure chance dodge bullets and stuff like that, and you know, not get hit by falling pianos. And so, yeah, the Mr. Magoo theory. That we're going to call that one.
This, of course, raises other problems, however.
Hit the
whether
like button,
events
you
in your
guys.
future are predetermined, or even
It's all I have.
whether free will
Or I'm
exists.
going to go back in time and not do this stream. And I can do that because I can just erase it.
Nor would Novikov's self-consistency principle work in all cases, as Barak Shoshani, Jared Wogan, and Jacob Hauser show in a series of papers published between 2020 and 2022.
Ardenshire says, I think Stephen Hawking is a lie. Stephen Hawking is not as smart as people were making out. He was a showpiece, and he was ironic, right? Because he was a physicist that did like one thing for physics, right? He wrote a book about black holes. That's all he thought about was black holes. He came up with Hawking radiation, which is it's true. That's something, right? But there's other physicists that have added way more to the field of physics than Stephen Hawking ever did, right? But Stephen Hawking had retarded legs and couldn't hold his head up. So it was like some sort of miracle that his brain wasn't also retarded. And so they propped him up and made him a star of, but he really didn't do anything. He was not a great physicist. He wasn't that smart. He was kind of stupid as far as physicists go, which is still pretty smart. Don't get me wrong. And especially for somebody in a chair who doesn't move their legs and stuff, he was really smart. But he wasn't great. He wasn't, and it pisses me off because there's better physicists out there. There's much better physicists that were contemporaries of Stephen Hawking that got absolutely no credit just because this guy was in a fucking chair and he got to park closer to the grocery store or the physics lab, wherever he was parking. Yeah. The thing, academics is a big show. It's a big fucking show. It's just like being a comedian or being an actor or something like that. Yeah, you have to be somewhat good at what you do. But being good isn't everything. It's also, what do you look like? What do you look like? Right? That's why a lot of female mathematicians get front and center attention, even though they are like the worst mathematicians. But they're females, so the little Asian guy who came up with probably everything that we use in our modern world, nobody knows that guy's name. But this large dykey one, oh, look at her. She went to Harvard because we let her go to Harvard because she's a female and she can do some math. I mean, that's just the world these days. It's fucking DEI. That's what it is. And Stephen Hawking was the original DEI hire, right? It's not that he was great. It was that he was fucking crippled. That is 100% true.
Imagine you have a working time machine. You also have
Forrest Mommy says women can't do math. That's preposterous. Exactly. Women can't do math. That's why if there's a female mathematician, they're going to put her front and center on the science channel and shit like that and be like, look at this. Girls can do anything, right? But she's a terrible mathematician. She's like an awful mathematician. But no, you're not allowed to think that. You're not allowed to think that because that goes against, that's a thought crime, right? You can't have those thoughts. That's mean.
Set of balls that are either black or white. Crucially, when two balls meet, the encounter changes their color. So a black ball becomes white and a white ball becomes black. Let's say a black ball travels through the time machine where it whacks into its past self.
Arden Shara says, new game. Every time John goes on a rant equals 1 point. A 5-minute rant equals 3 points. So, dude, that's this whole fucking... this is the show. Me ranting is the show. You understand that. Of course you understand that. You're here every night, right? And I thank you so much. And you donate, and you're a real big supporter. And I am truly blessed to have somebody like you. But that's the whole fucking show, man. This is me ranting. That's me ranting. That's the show. And who's getting these points? Am I getting these points? How about every time I go on a rant, everybody in the chat has to take a bump of fentanyl because we're a cult, or do sexy things. I don't know. But a point is just a point, and it means nothing. Not a sex cult, and we're not a death cult. But we will do the fentanyl sex thing.
The encounter changes both balls to white. The collision
White balls.
also knocks the ball that's already time traveled onto a path that eventually sends it through the time machine a second time. In this scenario, the exact same ball exits the exact same time machine at the exact same moment in the past, and yet it is seemingly two different colors when it does so. This peculiar paradox cannot be explained away using Novikov's self-consistency principle. But according to Shoshani, Wogan, and Hauser, it can be explained using parallel time streams. The many worlds of
Scott says Neil deGrasse Tyson is a good female mathematician. Neil deGrasse Tyson is an astronomer, right? He runs a museum that has a bunch of paper mache planets in it. That's like his whole, that's what he is, right? He didn't do much. Neil deGrasse Tyson is barely a scientist, but he is a scientist and he is black. So that's something, right? DEI strikes again. DEI strikes again with Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is also a hack. You know who else is a hack? Fucking Michio Kaku, right? Michio Kaku taught optics at New York State University, and he was all like, there's no way you can make anything invisible because you can't bend light waves around an object. Well, only a few years after he said that, what do you think they did? They bent light waves around an object, and he was all like, Michio Kaku's a hack. All right? So is Neil deGrasse Tyson, and so is Stephen Hawking.
of quantum mechanics. They argue that time travel to the past is only possible if you emerge in a different stream from the one you left. So the black ball would start in time stream A, but would emerge from the time machine.
If I'm still on YouTube, there's no way I'm going to get away with this episode. There's no way. Because, you know, I like how there's a halo around me, though. Because that's appropriate. Somebody screenshot this. Somebody screenshot this and then make it, make me like killing a demon or something like that. It's something appropriate. Make it ostentatious. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Neil deGrasse Tyson sucks. He took away Pluto.
In time stream B. In this alternate time stream, it's the other ball.
He was the guy who took away, he was like the guy that took away Pluto.
Going through the time machine after the collision
not a planet.
Instead.
That's a Kuiper Belt object, right? That's not a planet. And we all just went with it.
Not the one that's been through once already. The ball that emerges from the time machine the first time is a different color from the one that emerges the second time. But that's now okay, because it is no longer the same ball. This kind of extreme mental gymnastics takes some time to wrap your head around, but it does offer a potential solution to the...
JD Grab says, I heard Stephen Hawking likes to watch. Fuck you, bro. Of course he does. What else is he going to do? What else is he going to... What else is Stephen Hawking going to do besides watch? Moan robotically? That... He can't even smoke a cigarette, for God's sakes. Well, he's dead now. Thankfully. For him. I'm not being cruel. He looked like he was suffering. Right? And we shouldn't have kept him alive that long. So what? He came up with Hawking radiation and wrote A Brief History of the Universe, which is not that good either. He didn't do anything. Somebody else would have figured that out. And then we wouldn't have to have this mutant rolling around scoffing at people for not knowing, I don't know, whatnot. He didn't need to stay alive that long. I'm sorry Stephen Hawking had all that shit going on, but we should have just offed him when we had the chance, which was always. We always had the chance. We could have unplugged his wheelchair and just left him in the sun. It would have been fine.
The grandfather paradox. If you enter a separate time stream when you go back in time,
he would just sat there and cooked. Nothing he can do. Nothing.
Kill the version of your grandfather there, safe in the knowledge that the version of your grandfather that's crucial to your logical existence remains alive and well in the time stream you left behind. Your free will is restored, giving you the choice to do whatever you want. It is possible to use many worlds to circumvent the bootstrap paradox as well. In our tale of the time traveler saving their teenage self,
Obedience says, "Gone is Stephen Hawking, cometh the age of Stephen Hawktua," which is terrible. That's terrible. I mean, there's no way that's organic, right? That Haley Welch thing, that was not an organic rise to fame. That was done by somebody, right? Just like those Kaboom guys. This is not organic. It doesn't seem like that. I'm suspicious.
The origin of the letter wasn't clear. No one seemed to write it. But perhaps we were missing characters from our story. The version of you in timestream A could write the letter, travel back in time to timestream B, and give it to their younger self. That teenager then chooses physics, grows up to invent the time machine, and travels back in time to timestream C to give their
What if I just went to all these alternate realities, killing myself in each one, so I would gain their power, like Jet Li in that movie, The One? Have you guys seen that one? It was like Highlander, only with a little bit more complicated of a plot, but it was the exact same plot. So I would do that and just kill myself. I would really have to sneak up on myself, right? Because I'm sharp. But maybe in alternate realities, I'm not as sharp. So maybe it'll be easier. There's no way I could kill every single one of me because we are literally infinite. And I'm going to start referring to us as we because we are infinite. We are legion.
Teenage self and
no, that's what demons say. I'm not going to do that.
apparently authorless letter. So we can also explain the bootstrap
Brandon, would you kill yourself in another reality?
Paradox away, but we need 3 versions of you
Answer now.
existing in 3 separate time streams.
And why do you come at 9:59? What the hell is wrong with you? Do you seriously? Don't be like, oh, I have to work. Because a lot of people here have jobs. There's 49 people, and I want 49 likes, please. 49 people here, okay? You guys have jobs. Brandon, you have no excuse.
To do so.
All right? You're going to be the first to get the Kool-Aid. Or the sex, right? Depending on which direction I go with this cult, you're getting the Kool-Aid or the sex first, Brandon. Whatever happens
If
to be.
that seems like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut, you're not alone. It could be a shining example of just how humans can tie themselves into intellectual knots.
Background noise says you can't kill them all because at least one of your alternate selves is a ninja. That is a good point. Also, you know, my alternate selves might be like badasses, like Marines or some shit like that. I don't know. Like just murdering fools that can kill, I don't know, President of Earth or President of Mars. Literally anything. Literally anything. What did I do? Anyways, guys, thanks for coming. I hope you learned something. That you can never kill all of us. And you shouldn't even try. So thanks for coming. I hope you guys have a great night. Oh, Brandon says I'm still stripping this BMW. Good work. Yeah, keep at it, bud. I hope you guys have a great night. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys found this valuable and maybe a little interesting, and I hope you learned something. I hope you go out there and make me proud. Make me a proud cult leader. You know how handsome I think you are, and beautiful and gorgeous, and you're just great people all around. Thanks. Thanks for being there for me. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a great night. Get out there, be safe, make the best of yourselves, drink a lot of water, get a good night's sleep, and take care of yourselves because I care about you too. I'll see you tomorrow. I love you so much. Good night.
I'm an incredible soul, unhinged and enraged like a bulldog's just growl. I'm spitting fire, burning through these trees, Questioning the world, unraveling conspiracies. Talking about Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster too. Government lies, they're feeding me their goo. I'm diving deep into this rabbit hole, uncovering the truth, setting fire to their control. I got small nipples, but my voice is loud, born like thunder in this crazy crowd. They say I'm crazy, but I call it woke, unraveling the madness with every word I spoke.